Hey everyone, we have Joe Bender, developer evangelist at Blockstack. He'll be doing a talk on why you want to run a Stacks 2.0 node. Once he starts talking, can you confirm that you can hear him?
Testing. Can you all hear me out there? Looking for a thumbs up from the chat. Testing. 1, 2, 3. I see a yes from Harini. Thanks, Harini. Sounds good. We should be good to go. Let's get this party started. Hey everyone, Joe Bender, developer evangelist at Blockstack here. So pumped to be here at Future Proof. It's been a jam-packed weekend of amazing talks, amazing speakers, learning so much, and just getting hyped up for the continuation of the Stacks 2.0 testnet. Let's dive right in. I'm going to talk a little bit about why you want to run a Stacks 2.0 node. Originally, I was going to do a pretty in-depth demo tutorial of running through how to spin up a node and then a miner, but one of our community power users, Dan Trevino, is going to give a presentation directly after this, going through a demo of step-by-step how to run your Stacks miner. So I'm going to touch on it a tiny bit, but kind of just blow through slides and let you get the more technical, in-depth presentation from Dan next. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about why you would want to run a Stacks 2 node, why it's important, why the testnet is important, and the ramping up to the eventual mainnet launch. Like I said, I'm Joe Bender, developer evangelist at Blockstack. Coming up on 5 months now in my journey here. My focus is on empowering the community to build crazy cool stuff and really useful applications. My favorite quarantine activity has been browsing Bitcoin memes. Like I said in this talk, I'll talk a little bit about blockchain basics, just in case some of you guys are new to the space or the ecosystem. Talk about the Stacks 2.0 testnet, possibility of running your own node and miner, why run a node, and how you can get involved. Love this quote from Munib Ali. No company on the internet should have so much power that they get to debate if they should be evil today or not. And this is kind of a troll on Google's infamous slogan, "Don't be evil." We think it's better to build infrastructure and architecture that doesn't allow you to be evil, so you cannot be evil. That's kind of our ethos. If you are in a position where you have to decide if you should be evil or not, then the technology is failing you. Talk a little bit about blockchain basics here. So nodes, why is running a node important? What is a node? People talk about blockchain so much, they forget that blockchain is just a collection of nodes. In its purest form, in a telecommunication network, nodes act as redistribution points or communication endpoints. And there's a whole different slew of types of nodes: full nodes, master nodes, light nodes, minor, super nodes. And they all have nuanced functionality and capabilities, but they all are pretty much doing the same thing, which is adding security to the network and helping uphold the network. The network is only as strong as the nodes that support it. And downloading a node doesn't mean you need a NASA supercomputer with a bunch of 2001 Space Odyssey lights and wheels and gizmos on it. You just download the mining software onto your computer, which contains the rules that allow you to interact with that network. So in a sense, a node is just a building block of the blockchain. And a blockchain is blocks of data. And where is the data stored? In those nodes. Every node in the blockchain is connected to each other, so they're constantly exchanging information and keeping the most up-to-date record of the blockchain. At Blockstack, we are building the tools needed for a user-owned internet, and we think that the blockchain is one mechanism, it's kind of like the vessel that's going to carry us from Web 2 to Web 3 and allow decentralization of control and power out of these centralized silos and walled gardens of corporations and governments to the people and normal consumers that can uphold the network on their own with accessible hardware. You might know a little bit about Blockstack if you've been sticking around for the talks today, but we are an open source effort. We really believe in open source software development and letting the community kind come along with us on this journey and help build it. And we developed software that's going to provide an alternative to those Web 2 legacy centralized applications and architecture that will assist the migration. We've developed a full stack decentralized computing network. We're building a lot of different components, stacking, POX, Stacks 2.0, the new Explorer, the Sandbox, just all these different components that are enabling developers to participate in this new user-owned internet. And we really think that the goal of this whole conquest is to return digital rights back to developers and consumers. Our digital rights and our privacy have really been compromised in the last 10 years. Just hegemonic powers that be of the internet, the Amazons, Google, Facebook, Netflix, they've really found a way to turn you into the product and turn the people into the product and sell their data and private information to advertisers to gain profit. You may be surprised by this, but Facebook is not looking out for your best interests. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't genuinely care about you. He cares about his investors and the people that are funding his company. We forget that corporations are profit motivated. They have a fiduciary obligation to their investors to make money. And if we aren't keeping that in the forefront of our mind, we're going to fall for some of these cloak and dagger tactics that these companies are pulling on us when they pretend like they're just trying to create the most effective search engine or the most connected social network in the world. Stacks 2.0. We are here and we are so excited for it. This is the blockchain that we wish would have existed when Blockstack launched over 5 years ago. Munib has been in the blockchain space for a long time, along with a lot of the other Blockstackers, Jude and Patrick, these people that have been conceiving of this eventual blockchain design for a long time and looking at other protocols and looking at pros and cons. And we really think Stacks 2.0 is a perfect patchwork quilt of the best parts of all of these other protocols. First and foremost, we believe Web3 is going to introduce a true internet ownership. We believe that. We think that the transition is coming away from this Web 2.0 world, and the Web3 is coming. And we think it's going to be anchored to Bitcoin, the most secure blockchain, the king of the hill, store of value, digital gold, all that good stuff. And Stacks 2.0 kind of represents the design, the blueprint by which Web3 can emerge and scale, but still be anchored to Bitcoin. And it's designed with security, scalability, and speed in mind, that triple threat there. And on the right, you see the novel parts of proof of transfer and the innovative aspect of what we think makes it new and kind of cool. Proof of transfer is a novel mining mechanism that leverages Bitcoin to secure an independent new blockchain protocol. And it enables stuff that's not fully capable with just proof of work or just proof of stake. So with proof of transfer, instead of expending electricity or computing power, like in proof of work, or locking up tokens, like in proof of stake, or in proof of burn, which was used in Stacks 1.0, where miners were competing to mine a block by burning Bitcoin and sending it to an invalid address. In Stacks 2.0, instead of sending that Bitcoin to an invalid address, they're sending it to stackers. Stackers are people that have excess Stacks tokens that they want to lock up on the network, and they should be compensated for that. If they're locking up tokens, they're adding to the value of the network, increasing the security of the network, so they should be compensated with Bitcoin, a base layer protocol like that. And that's where the magic in Stacks 2.0 happens, that miners are competing to mine a block with Bitcoin. Stackers are receiving that Bitcoin as a reward for upholding the network. It's like a beautiful interplay between Bitcoin, Stacks 2.0, and the Bitcoin blockchain. And then Clarity is the brand spanking new smart contract programming language that we just unveiled around 2 or 3 months ago. And it allows you to write those expressive smart contracts that enable dApps and DAOs and DeFi and prediction markets and Blockjack and all those experiments that you see on other chains, such as Ethereum. So Stacks 2.0 testnet rollout. Right now we are in the testnet phase because we believe you should never ship anything unless it's in tip-top shape. And wow, the last 2 months have just been like a beautiful explosion of activity on Stacks 2.0 with the hackathons and workshops. And so many of our community members have made awesome demos or YouTube videos showing different functionality from the testnet. But testnets are just for that, testing. We really want to kick the tires on Stacks 2.0, test out all this new functionality that we're envisioning. And we thought stages would be a great way to stagger things. That way we could build features onto the testnet as they're ready, include them in different stages. We're going Neon, Argon, Krypton, Xenon, then mainnet. We started off with Neon back in, when was it? April or May. And that was just, connecting a node to the network, the lowest common denominator that you need to run a blockchain. Nodes connecting to a network. Then we unveiled phase 2, which was Argon, and that added the mining functionality, turning your node into a miner and competing to lead a block on the Stacks blockchain. However, proof of transfer wasn't implemented yet, so you were just mining with the original proof of burn consensus mechanism. Coming up in just a couple weeks here is the Krypton phase. And this is the showstopper phase we've really been waiting for because it implements proof of transfer. And we will finally be able to have the community mess around with all that cool stuff I was talking about, stacking and mining and sending Bitcoin to the stackers. And you could even be stacking on the side while you're mining to get a little discount on your mining. There's a lot of cool crypto economic magic that can kind of happen there. So, benefits of a testnet. Why go to testnet? Well, you saw what happened with Yam last weekend or 2 weekends ago on Ethereum. They launched a mainnet. They got, it was like $500 million or something ridiculous. I apologize if I'm messing up the value, but it was an inordinate amount of money into a contract that was unaudited because they were like, we build a cool money thing. Let's go straight to mainnet and collect as much money as we can. That is what we're trying to avoid because there was a vulnerability in the contract and a lot of people lost money. What we want to do is stress test the crapola out of this thing until we are sure that it is a certain threshold of excellence, very minimal attack vectors and bugs, and have it be ready to go, well-oiled machine for mainnet launch. Testnet, BTC, and Stacks. These have no value. Really fun to play around with and make smart contracts and see what the testnet can do. But you're totally risk-free because the testnet, BTC, and Stacks has no actual monetary value in and of itself, so that doesn't incentivize anyone to attack the network. It's a parallel network, so it's a duplication of what the eventual mainnet launch would look like. So you can try out everything that you would want to eventually on mainnet without the consequences of being on air. And also, you're not losing real value with transaction fees. The transaction fees are obviously in testnet, Stacks, or BTC also. It just lets the community tinker before we reach a final product. You can see this image on the right that's on our testnet page right now. I think it was just added this week. And it's a nice little stagger showing the different features that will be implemented during different phases of the testnet. Testnet activities. So what can we do on this testnet? Well, you can download the Stacks blockchain software and spin up a node. That's like first and foremost. We want to see people spinning up nodes, spinning up miners, testing the functionality. Next, you can turn your node into a miner and participate in consensus. You could also create a wallet with the JavaScript CLI and generate some wallets, maybe generate some testnet stacks. You could build a Clarity smart contract and deploy it to the testnet. That's probably one of the activities that's been happening most in the last couple of weeks. We've had 2 Clarity hackathons in the last few months that have generated so many awesome smart contracts, a trustless token exchange, a property rental, tip calculator, all sorts of cool smart contracts. You can send testnet transactions. You can play with the new Testnet Explorer. Our DevX team has been so excited about this Explorer. It's beautiful. Check out that dark mode. And the Explorer has a sandbox, which allows you to do all this cool stuff without spinning up a node. You can deploy and call contracts. You can get testnet stacks, transfer stacks, all sorts of stuff just within the sandbox. You can also submit bug bounties and earn Bitcoin. Shout out to Friedger and Pascal, two of our community members who earned hundreds and hundreds of dollars of Bitcoin the last few weeks from just helping out our devs and engineering team, getting in those GitHub issues, helping clean up typos or security vulnerabilities, stuff like that. So this is where I was going to dive into these two tutorials. I'll let Dan Trevino take you on more of a intense workshop in the next session, but these are two simple tutorials on our website, really accessible. You know, you don't need a warehouse full of GPUs to run a miner on Stacks 2.0. You just need a command line, and to follow the tutorial says 30 minutes. It's more like a 20-minute tutorial. The links are right there. I'd recommend getting all set up for Dan's session next. You could dive right in and follow along with him. The prerequisites you need. Yeah, okay, I'm going to tear through this stuff and let Dan really take you on this. But to do the tutorials, you need a command line, like a terminal. Most computers have that. You need to download Rust. Programming language has been around for a while, focuses on performance, reliability, productivity. That's why we selected it for the Stacks blockchain. If you're a Linux user, you need this like SSL dev package to be able to process the Stacks blockchain software. And on the right, you'll need the Stacks blockchain repository. And that is the code that allows you to turn your computer into a blockchain node. Downloading the Stacks blockchain repository and Rust. Rust is super easy. It's this package called Rust Up on the left. You just enter a command, and then it'll say proceed with installation. You hit 1. And downloading the Stacks blockchain repo can be done a myriad of ways. You can download it straight from the GitHub repo. You can clone it with the GitHub desktop client, which some people prefer, or you can do it from the command line by git clone and then the repo name.git. Installing the Stacks blockchain repo, command line there. Important, you're going to change your directory into the one you just installed, and then you start your node with a simple Stacks node Argon. That's what the eventual output will look like once your node is purring away. It will say info directory pointer there, and then first ever block. And then I printed this out for you guys too, just so you could really see the under the hood here. So you can see at the top, it's finding the first block, and then it's giving a hash of that block. A little further down, it's creating 4 different Stacks addresses and crediting them with a bunch of stacks. In the next, you can see it there. It's processing newly minted blocks. And then at the bottom, it's doing a contract call to a hello world contract and setting a value for it. So you can see in the hard code in your node a couple different blockchain-y things happening. But I'll let Dan take you through this a little more. And then it's another simple step to begin mining. You just got to create a keychain, get your BTC address from this little JSON string over here. You go to the faucet and throw in that BTC address. And you'll be sent 0.5 testnet BTC to that address. And then you go into this special configuration file and you replace the seed value in the configuration file with the private key value. Can you see my mouse? Oh yeah, you can, with this value here. I think I might have even put the entire configuration file. Yeah, you can see some other stuff in the configuration file. It's just pointing to the correct Argon testnet URL there, and then the right, it's configuring all those addresses that we saw to have a certain amount of stacks, so you can do stuff with it right off the bat. This is the command to start running your miner. Super simple. And if you wanted to do it on a server per se, if you didn't want to be running it locally, you might want to optimize binary. Just 2 simple lines of code to do that. Also, if you're having some trouble, you might want to enable debug logging. It'll give you a bunch more information and feedback if you're running into errors or bugs that might help you troubleshoot. Okay, why is running a node important? You know, people talk about nodes a lot, Bitcoin node count, Ethereum node count. I feel like a lot of people should be running nodes and they're not. It's like such a hot topic, and no, not a real private key, Daryl, thanks though. It's such a hot topic in the space, but people don't really know why it's important. And there's a couple reasons. First and foremost is trust. People talk a lot about skin in the game in blockchain of like holding a certain crypto. I think skin in the game is running a node on the network that you support. You are actively contributing to the security of the network. In that way, you don't have to query another node. You can just use you have an entire copy of the blockchain on your own node. Therefore, you can just trust yourself. Control, you don't have to depend on third parties for broadcasting transactions to a network. You don't have to go to my crypto or my Ether wallet or something on Ethereum, for example. You can send transactions directly from your node. Scalability, this is kind of a no-brainer. Just more nodes equal faster, more secure, robust network. It's inexpensive. On Stacks 2.0, Stacks 2 miners don't need overpriced hardware. Like I said, you don't need a whole server rack full of GPUs. You don't need an ASIC. You just need a command line interface. Increased network security. This is what I keep saying. More nodes, more security. You're actively making the blockchain safer. Participate in mining. If you're running a node, and that means you're just a couple lines of code away from also being a miner and possibly being able to receive Stacks rewards for helping with consensus. Autonomy. It also gives you certain power if there were to be like a hard fork situation where you can automatically choose what chain you'd like to follow instead of like following other miners. Lithium, this is a really good question. And obviously like the inexpensive part is Stacks 2.0 specific. Also the easy part is Stacks 2.0 specific. Running a node is different for every different protocol. Obviously running a node between a proof of work and proof of stake network is going to be completely different. I'd say this slide is talking a little bit about Stacks 2.0 specifically, but every blockchain is different when it comes to running a node. Thanks, that's a good question. Yeah, that's about all I got. Easy. Like I said, the tutorial, you can run through it in 30 minutes and you'll be mining on the testnet. How to get involved. This is kind of a link dump, but the most important link dump you will ever see. This is it. This is Blockstack. If you want to dive into the deep end that is the pool of Blockstack, this is where you want to start. Check out our updated documentation. Our DevX team just unveiled new documentation. It's the most beautiful site I've ever seen. Dark mode, neon colors, and a lot of good information, that too. The forum is a perfect place to ask like longer form questions. Discord has been popping off the last few months. The Blockstack team is actually gravitating from Slack into the Discord just because we want to be that much closer to the community, that much more accessible. You could download the Stacks wallet. You can read the white paper. You can check out our GitHub. So many good repos, Stacks Transactions JS, Stacks Blockchain, the Explorer, the Docs repo. That's where like the hardcore frontline updates are coming. If you look at the pull requests of the issues, you might get a sneak preview into some features that are coming. Testnet bounties are still available. Like I said, you can earn Bitcoin for those. The Stacks 2.0 hackathon series is going on right now. We actually have a hackathon ending tomorrow night, close to midnight Eastern time. I would be telling you all to go out and spin up a smart contract in 24 hours, but probably a little bit difficult. But if anyone's a genius coder out there and wants to build a beautiful smart contract in 24 hours, maybe win some money, head on over to our dev post listing and check out our hackathon right now. Newsletters on the right too, and then experimenting with the Stacks 2.0 testnet. That testnet link there will take you to a site that has all the links perfectly laid out for like running a node, signing transactions, running a miner, testing with the Explorer. Shannon just hooking me up with the links. Shannon just posted the link to the Clarity Hackathon if anyone feels ambitious. I'm going to give you some screenshots of our world here. This is the Blockstack Discord. Oh, Harini getting a feature presentation here. This is also a great example of like Harini and Frieger just collaborating in the Discord, helping each other out during a hackathon. We have a great culture of collaboration in the Discord. I'm blown away by how many times one of our community members answers a question before I can get to it. A lot of functionality has been added recently since Blockstack PBC transitioned into it. We're getting badges and roles and bots and automation, all sorts of cool stuff. Definitely check it out. This is the forum for people who grew up in the 90s and still have a soft spot for forums and B-boards. The forum's a great place to go. Whereas like Reddit and a lot of sites lately are sorted by like upvotes and only the most popular results get to the top. This is still like the old days where it's chronological. You can roll through conversations and absorb them more logically. oh, this is the Blockstack Docs that I was talking about. Look how beautiful this is. Much more organized, much more aggregated. Our docs used to be strewn about a little bit. They're all distilled now into one single source of truth. And that's about all I have for you on this beautiful Sunday evening, Future Proof. I really hope everyone had a great weekend and saw some good talks that they enjoyed. I had a lot of fun listening to Jude deep dive on Stacks 2.0 and Zan go into a little bit about mining today. Yeah, it's been jam-packed. Thanks to the organizers, Dystopia Labs and everything. And don't forget, if you want to go a little bit deeper on some of the tutorials that I was talking about, Dan Trevino is coming up next with running your Stacks miner. Definitely stick around. That one's going to bring the house down as the last presentation of the weekend. I encourage you all to attend. Looks like we may have a couple extra minutes here if anyone wants to pop a question in the chat. Let me scroll through, see if we got anything. A lot of emojis. I like the excitement this late at night. Yeah, DeWalker mentioned that yes, all the testnet phases are based off of chemistry and noble gases in the periodic table. There is indeed a helium phase. I know there's some like sub phases we've broken down into, so I don't know what the exact labeling will be until we get to mainnet. But breaking the Stacks testnet into phases was just such a logical way to progress through the testnet. And I think like running a node, mining, proof of transfer is also a very logical progression of functionality for the testnet. Once people were able to spin up a node without any problems, once the testnet had decent reliability and a lot of uptime, then we moved on to mining. And once people were playing around with mining and doing that successfully, proof of transfer and Krypton is right on the horizon. Also, there's a great POX newsletter that will give you updates on when Krypton's come in or when POX is coming or new features will be updated if you want to sign up for that. Oh, I scrolled up a bit. Let me see if there's any questions. Not seeing much more. Thanks for the love, Harini. Everyone go and check out Block Survey, an app built with Blockstack ID. Where can we grab all those links? You know what? Let me grab this link for y'all right now. Anyone on the internet with this link in view, that's what we want. Oh, questions in the questions section. Best laid plans of mice and men. So for a non-programmer, is it easy to set up a node and miner? Yes, literally the tutorials I was showing you, I couldn't have put more content in the slides if I tried. It is a couple lines of code. And hilariously, mine and Dan's presentations were kind of similar. And I was like, why don't I do running a node and why don't you set up a miner? And he replied, setting up a miner is literally 2 more lines of code. And I was like, okay, good point. You handle the workshop. It is just a couple lines of code to go from running your node to connecting to the network to mining. I think it's pretty simple compared to like other chains. And just more nodes make the network more secure as well as faster. That's a really good question. And I hope I'm not like ignorant on this. And if I had to like plant my flag here, I'd say it makes it more secure, but I don't think it technically makes it faster. It's not like directly proportional. More nodes equal more transaction throughput because there's still Stacks 2.0 blocks are tied to Bitcoin blocks. But the thing that gives Stacks 2.0 increased transaction throughput is the micro blocks that occur in between all of the main Stacks 2.0 blocks. And that's what allows us to have more transactions than one block every 15 minutes. So I don't think that Stacks 2.0 necessarily needs the like more nodes equal faster method, but it certainly makes it more secure. You know, the more nodes there are, the more computers there are processing transactions, the less chances there are for successful forks, malicious forks, or attack vectors. Oh, nice. And Pascal is answering my questions for me already. That's the power community members that we have at Blockstack. Does stack mining require a large GPU? Yeah, Pascal is right. It relies on the Bitcoin network to do the heavy lifting. You know, all that extreme electricity consumption and computational heavy lifting happens on Bitcoin, and then we just kind of piggyback, recycle that energy onto Stacks 2.0. What the difference?
We're out of time. We need.
Yeah, sounds great. You'll have to read up on the differences between clarity and solidity. Thank you so much for having me, everyone. I hope you enjoy the next presentation. Hope you had a great weekend in general, and hope to see you all in the Discord.